Hi, boys and girls. Today I'm going to read to you a second fairy tale called The Little Mermaid. Remember, fairy tales are about magical lands and characters that cannot happen in real life. The Little Mermaid. This might be a little bit different. Sometimes details in a fairy tale are different from book to book. And you might have read The Little Mermaid before or seen the movie. So let's see what's different. And one of your follow-ups for the end of your lesson is, what'd you do with it, Miss Benito? What does the frog and the mermaid have in common? In common means what is the same. So you'll just answer that question after. Okay, so enjoy The Little Mermaid. Oh, Miss Benito, get ready. In the darkest, deepest part of the ocean, in the darkest, deepest part of the ocean lived the old Sea King, his 6 mermaid daughters, and the girl's grandmother. The Sea King had a long, grizzled beard, and he ruled the ocean creatures with wisdom and kindness. The youngest of the daughters, Princess Melody, had blue eyes, long blonde hair, and a sweet voice. All who heard it could not help but stop what they were doing and listen. No one could resist Melody's singing. Being a mermaid, Melody had a fishtail instead of legs. It helped her swim underwater and play with her dolphin friend. Grandmother told many stories to the young mermaids as they laughed and combed their long hair. The mermaids had their favorite tales, and they made Grandmother tell them over and over again. Some of the best stories were about strange creatures called human beings who lived above the water and moved about on legs. It was the custom that a mermaid be allowed to swim to the surface on her 16th birthday to see these strange beings. Melody could hardly wait. On that day, Grandmother took Melody aside to give her advice. Today is a special day for you. You may swim up to see the humans, but you may not speak to them, and you must return at once. Melody darted to the surface as quickly as she could fan her fishtail. When Melody reached the ocean's waves, she saw a sailing ship anchored in the distance. She swam over and was amazed to see so many strange creatures, 2-legged ones, strolling and dancing on the deck. One of the creatures was a tall, handsome prince. He could tell he was a prince because, let me go back and reread. She could tell he was a prince because he had a crown on his head, just as she did. Melody sighed. Oh, how I think I am in love with this wonderful being. Just then, a bolt of lightning flashed. The sky turned black and the waves rose up. The storm lifted the ship high on the waves and then snapped it in two. The prince was hit on the head by the ship's mast and knocked overboard. He was too dazed to swim and began to sink beneath the sea. This is the mast that holds up the sails. Melody's crown slipped off as she rushed to catch the prince, but her dolphin friend caught it in his mouth. She flipped her tail and carried the prince to the nearest shore. His eyes were closed, so he did not see who had saved him, but he did hear her sing to him as she swam. Melody left the prince on the shore and swam back out to sea. Before she waited to see who would come to help the prince. She waited to see who would come to help the prince. Before long, some children found him lying on the sand. They called their mother, who recognized him. She hurried to the palace to spread the news that the prince was alive. Everyone at court thought that he had died in the storm. With tears in her eyes, Melody swam back to her sisters. Oh, how I want to be like human creatures, she sobbed. I can't forget my handsome prince. I must have legs so I can be with him. Melody wept to her grandmother. Grandmother told Melody that only a magic spell chanted by the sea witch could help her. So Melody went to see the sea witch in her cavern guarded by sea dragons. The sea witch agreed to help. She would give the mermaid human legs, but Melody would have to give the sea witch her magnificent voice in exchange. Melody was unhappy, but she agreed to make the trade. Handing Melody a silver cup with a magic drink, the sea witch said, fishtail, split in two. Give legs to this mermaid sweet and true. Melody felt her head spin as she sang goodbye. When Melody opened her eyes, she was sitting on a sandy beach, and her tail had been replaced with two long, smooth human legs. She realized that this was the place where she had left the prince. The prince happened to be strolling along the shore. He saw the girl and approached her. Who are you? Where do you come from? He inquired. Melody tried to answer, but she had no voice. All she could do was motion with her hands. Never mind, said the prince. My name is Kyle. If you can come back to the palace and I will take care of you. He brought her to his home and was kind to her. Still, he longed to meet the lady with the beautiful voice who had rescued him. Melody and Prince Kyle saw each other every day. They would take long walks on the beach and sometimes go sailing on the royal boat. Melody loved to just sit and look at her prince. Since she had lost her beautiful voice, Melody could neither speak nor sing. She learned to use gestures to tell Prince Kyle what she wanted to say. The prince was enchanted watching Melody speak with her graceful hands. The days and nights were filled with laughter, and Prince Kyle made sure that all in the place treated Melody with kindness, for she was his best friend. That's nice. Melody was happy with her new legs and her newfound friend, but the sea witch was unhappy with her new voice. The crystal ball she used to plan her magic spells would not respond to her commands, no matter how fierce she tried to sound. The fish and the other creatures of the sea no longer feared her, now that her voice was sweet and soothing. They swam in and around her cave, playing tag with the sea dragon guards. Nobody took the sea witch seriously anymore. Her sweet and beautiful voice canceled the spells that she tried to cast. This cannot go on, she finally declared. I must get my own fearsome voice back. One morning, Melody and Prince Kyle were sailing on the royal boat. Melody heard the sea witch singing, Melody, Melody, I haven't much choice. You may keep your new legs, but give back my voice. Melody opened her mouth, and to everyone's surprise, outpoured a beautiful, sweet song. The prince quickly recognized the voice of the young woman who had saved him. He asked her to marry him that very day. The wedding was held on the deck of the ship as the Sea King, grandmother, Melody's sisters, and all her other sea friends looked on. Then the ship sailed over the horizon into the setting sun, bound for exotic lands. The end. All right, boys and girls. So your follow-up is, what does the frog from the Princess and the Frog have in common with the mermaid? So yesterday's fairy tale and today's fairy tale, what do those two characters have in common? And also, if you notice anything else that might be the same between the two stories, you can list a couple other bullets as to what else do both stories have in common. Okay, so you can compare the characters and then compare the story in itself. Okay, thank you, boys and girls, for listening. Have a lovely day.